Question? Doesn't. Okay. We're going to question number 7. Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Police and asks, did the Police Commissioner or any of his staff inform the Prime Minister or any of his staff of the decision not to prosecute Mr Bradley Ambrose? If so, on what date?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, yes, I am advised that police contacted John Key on Monday the 26th of March to advise him as the complainant in the case of their decision.
Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Were the police aware that John Key would be overseas on Tuesday 27 March, the date on which they publicly announced the decision not to prosecute Mr Ambrose?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I am not aware, I'm not involved in that conversation. It's an operational matter, and as Policing Minister I have no knowledge of that.
Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can she assure the House that there is no relationship between the delay in making the decision not to prosecute Mr Bradley Ambrose and the public announcement of that decision on the one hand, and the fact on the other that the complainant is the Prime Minister and that he would be overseas on the date of the announcement?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
The police, who are operationally independent under Section 16 of the Policing Act, deal with operational matters on a case-by-case basis and exercise their discretion as appropriate. It is absolutely inappropriate for any police minister to take any part in an operational matter.
Point of order, is it? Charles Chauvel, point of order.
Sir, I want to be very clear with the Minister that I was asking a question about the connection between a decision not to prosecute, which I accept is an operational matter that is not within her competence, and the PR matters that were associated with for which she is responsible to this House, and she hasn't dealt with that issue at all.
Well, no, the Minister, if I heard her correctly, said that the Minister's office is not involved in the decision when they make announcements at all. She made very clear to the House that her office had no involvement in that whatsoever. I've got to take her word for that. Charles Chauvel. Is this speaking of the point of order?
Yes, sir.
Charles Chauvel.
My primary question should have put the Minister on notice that I was interested in knowing about the communication decisions that were made about the decision not to prosecute Mr Ambrose and liaison with the complainant. So, as I say, I'm not asking her about the operational prosecution decision. I'm asking her about the public relations and the communication with the Prime Minister, for which she is responsible.
Order. The Minister's made it clear that she had, and unless she wishes to change her answer, that she had no part in that communication decision at all. That's what I understood the Minister said, and I've got to take the Minister's word. I mean, she answered the question. She said she had no part to play in that whatsoever.
I sought an assurance from her that there was no relationship between the communication decision on the one hand and the absence of the Prime Minister overseas. And I submit, sir, that the primary question...
Order. No, order. The member's questions have been answered. He's got more supplementaries he can use to pursue the matter further should he want, but that question he asked, the Minister, I thought, was very clear in answering it. She said that her office had no involvement in the PR decision, if that's what the member wants to call it, the communication management of the decision made. And I've got to take, that's a clear answer, and I've got to take her word for that, as the House does. Supplementary question, Chris Farfoy.
Given charges were not laid, does she agree with the Prime Minister's comment that Mr Ambrose's actions have, quote, been deemed unlawful, end quote, and if so, why?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Well, Mr Speaker, firstly, I have no responsibility for the Prime Minister. Secondly, I always agree with the Prime Minister.
Chris Farfoy.
Given the Prime Minister said in November last year that police, quote, do have a little bit of spare time, end quote, to investigate the teapot tape, how much did this investigation done in police spare time cost the taxpayer?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I understand that that question was asked of the police at the Select Committee, and they said they were unable to put a cost on the investigation. However, anyone in this country has a right to make a complaint, and the police deal with operational matters, and ministers do not get involved.
Question number 8, Jonathan Young.